They present the popular radio program Political Platform on the Ray Power FM network. Ray Power FM Political Platform, now on television. Keep track of the country's polity and be part of the process as they discuss and put political developments in the country into perspective. It's Ray Power Political Platform on AIT Abuja.
Hello out there, and thanks for joining us on Political Platform. We are beginning with the good news this morning, and that is the commissioning of a 150 million naira poultry and feed mill farm in Kaduna by the president yesterday. That is one incident, one occurrence in Nigeria that will give everybody some hopes. We'll be reviewing that and against the backdrop of the need for us to begin to invest locally, and agriculture is the mainstay. When we talk about investing in productive ventures, encouraging Nigerians, particularly our entrepreneurs, to begin to take a look at how to generate jobs and increase productivity. This event in Kaduna yesterday is one that we cannot but talk about. I'm Ohiria Agbonsuremi, and I have Amechi Anakwe on the program.
Thank you, Ohiria. Tensions everywhere. We always call for restraint on every part. At this time of our national life, restraint remains the watchword. And
the ugly one is happening from the southeast. That we are not happy about. A curfew has been declared. A dawn to dusk curfew has been declared in Abia State over the soldiers' IPOB clash. We'll also be talking about that. I will take a look at all the sides to this development. Of course, we'll quickly remind those who are writing and sending messages on social media that the media seem to be quiet, and some persons have also written to us to say, why does it appear that we are also quiet and not talking about the event in the southeast? Just to remind you that on 2 or 3 occasions on this program, we warned that Nnamdi Kalu was going beyond the bail conditions that was granted him. And for those who are lettered enough to read the terms and conditions of the bail, which we even condemned here, that the bail conditions were stringent, but he threw everything to the winds and continued as if he is not a law-abiding citizen, and as if he didn't get the freedom from the court. He disrespected the judge, disrespected the provisions of all the bail, and not just that he was going all over the place, but he continued unabated against all all reason, promoting all the divisive, going on with all the divisive tendencies that we talk about. But again, it is not to justify that anybody should be killed on the street, no matter what happens. And that's why on this program, I would align myself with the governor of the pronouncement of the state governor that the military have a responsibility to obey and go by the international and Nigerian standards in taking on actions in a civilian environment, and as well as advising everybody in Abia to be law-abiding citizens. And when both everybody stay on their own lane, there will be no clash. But we'll talk about some of the events that happened in the course of the program. Beyond that, we have other sundry political developments we'll be reviewing. We'll be taking your mails, politicalplatform@yahoo.com, and we'll do all the analysis. Ehiedu Anyangu is still with us in Abuja and is with us this morning.
Thank you very much, Ohiria. You recall that the incursion of the military into Nigeria's democratic journey accounted for the decimation of the strength of the Nigerian police, to the extent that so many other agencies were taken away from that particular organ of government. And what we are seeing, even issues that you are supposed to be able to use the Nigerian police and possibly the SSS to deal with, these deployments of soldiers that we see every now and then and we think is the normal thing. It's not the normal thing. It will continue to reduce the strength of the Nigerian police, because when you continue to do that, psychologically, Nigerians will begin to feel that the police does not have power to deal with some of these issues, particularly in cases where there are certain civil disturbances, as you have rightly pointed out in the course of your intro. I just do hope that government do realize that there is a need to indeed empower the civil security agency, that is the police, with a view to making it much more democratic in operation.
And not just making it more democratic, they should be provided with all the facilities, the equipment, and the training to be able to deal with situations. But some of them, you agree with me, Hedu, are also, there are incidents, even local incidents, that will go beyond the police. When people begin to arm themselves, just which day was that? 3-4 days ago, the customs successfully head back again a cache of arms that were brought into Nigeria. Unfortunately, we don't have much of explanations about those ones, that the earlier ones that were head along, they were entering into the civilian population. One of them actually left the port, and they had to rearrest or arrest them along the line. Now, if there are people who are importing arms into Nigeria, I wouldn't know if the Nigerian population you mean we don't deserve some explanations from the Nigerian government to say these are the people, we should prosecute them, let it be done openly, people will know. But arms keep coming in, and the customs, I wonder how many of them the customs are not able to see.
Well, we know about the proliferation of weapons, not just in Nigeria but across Africa. Is something that should be a source of concern. Even as way back as 20 years ago, there were reports that the nature of arms circulating in Nigeria, especially in the Niger Delta, are not just light weapons that we talk of is proliferation, heavy weapons. But Hedu talked about the way military, of course, is deployed, and against the backdrop of the function of the civil police. Yes, you can indeed deploy the military for internal security arrangements if there is a breakdown of law and order. Sometimes when you deploy the military, it elicits some negative reaction from the people around that place, because the nature of the activities of the military is quite different from the police. The police is trained to deal with civil situation. Arguments are still going on as to whether what is happening in the southeast is a civil situation, or whether there is a general breakdown of law and order and arms have been employed. So when you deploy the military anywhere in the world, you get a negative response from the society. So we have to find a way of managing all these differences for national peace and cohesion.
I wouldn't say any law has been broken down in Nigeria or in Abia State that would deserve the military coming in. But the military were not also firing shots and aiming at any particular person. We see them in Abuja here on show of force. When they are in Abuja, very regularly they are in Abuja on the streets in Abuja. I believe in some other parts of Nigeria. But the tension that was already in Abia State must have, it led to the increase in the way they were, the negative way they were received. And then when you also see, I saw some pictures of people throwing stones, bottles, on armored personnel carrier, the armored tanks of other policemen or soldiers, throwing bottles and sticks. It shows how helpless they are. I mean, they don't have a gun. They were aiming at these PACs. In some societies, you want to ask yourself, is it necessary to deploy soldiers at this stage, even though there are reasons to be suspicious that things are going on? When the IPOB begin to launch the Biafra defense, is it DSS they call it? What they
Biafra
call it?
Security
Service. When you begin to hear all those things that there will be war, and everybody is agitated, is it appropriate for the military to even be seen around that vicinity, so that we don't increase the tension? Or is it possible we employ some other methods to take a look at them? If they are just people who are shouting, just like a child who has been beaten, you allow the child to cry. If it's the cry of a child, you just allow them to make their noise, and you call their leaders and move things in, rein them in, and get them to understand that Abia State, or indeed the Southeast, is still part and parcel of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, as rightly pronounced by the governor of Abia State. It's still under the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. And when it is under the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, no individual will be allowed to begin to practice or preach hatred and begin to do things that will make everybody begin to get scared and afraid of what is possible that can happen if we do not take steps. And in taking those steps, we have to also follow the law. Now, let's take a look at our mailbox, politicalplatform@yahoo.com. When we have harvested from your own thoughts, harvested your thoughts on some of the sundry developments in Nigeria, then we'll come back and do the analysis. Please stay with us.
Bust it.
They present the popular radio program Political Platform on the Ray Power FM network. Ray Power FM Political Platform, now on television. Keep track of the country's polity and be part of the process as they discuss and put political developments in the country into perspective. It's Ray Power Political Platform on AIT Abuja.
Welcome back from the break. It's the mail segment and I'm Amaka Okoro.
I'm Ait Yare. Welcome.
We'll begin with a mail from Kel Green Otaide from Lagos State, and he writes on military deployment to Southeast. The mail reads, the deployment of the Nigerian military to Southeast is a welcome development, especially as the leader of IPOB, Nnamdi Kanu, has threatened to set the nation on fire. This same man openly recruited some group of unemployed Nigerians into an illegal outfit named Biafra Secret Service in a sovereign state like ours, where the military and police still exist. This action of his is provocative and a threat to national security. It has become expedient for the government to act before it's too late.
More reactions Sunday in Ebonyi State says the latest operation, Python, and the purported plans to rearrest Nnamdi Kanu will add more problems to the country than it claims to solve. Unless the president creates another operation, eradicate hate actions before this impending cabinet reshuffle to correct some of his anti-unity appointments, the various agitations in the country will never come to an end, especially via intimidation from the Python dancers.
And this is the much we can take on today's mail segment. Keep sending your mails to us. Send them to truepoliticalplatform@yahoo.com.
Bust it.
They present the popular radio program Political Platform on the Ray Power FM network. Ray Power FM Political Platform, now on television. Keep track of the country's polity and be part of the process as they discuss and put political developments in the country into perspective. It's Ray Power Political Platform on AIT Abuja.
Thank you so much. Let's begin from the good side of the report. To have the one I mentioned just now, the Olam Poultry Farm and Feed Mill that was commissioned yesterday by President Muhammadu Buhari in Kaduna, $150 million. If you go to the major shopping malls in the urban centers, Lagos, Port Harcourt, Abuja, and ask the operators how they get their poultry products that they sell, whether it's chicken or egg, they will tell you that a high percentage, very, very high, over 50-60% of the egg that is brought into Nigeria come from all across the border, particularly from South Africa. And every day, when the planes, the cargo planes come into Nigeria,
the ships,
the ships and all no matter how they bring them in, they are bringing in eggs, they are bringing in chicken, frozen chicken, and when I read about the story of this farm yesterday and the investment that was involved and how many people can be employed and how the gap can be bridged a little. We can't even supply. We hear that company cannot even supply all the poultry need that we have. The feeds that we need for our chicken, they can't even supply. If we even have 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 of them, we will still have a big market. That shows how good the Nigerian market is, the Nigerian business environment is. We have a population that is, we must feed, and when the food is not available, you have to buy it from outside. We saw how rice was coming in from Thailand, from even China, from India, until this government up the ante in encouraging local production of rice, and we are beginning to see a reduction. It does it shows that when the right policies are put in place, if we can have banks that will support long-term investment, not this quick take that they are all involved in, if we can have the liberalization of the acquisition of land, people can have access to land easily to do what they want to do, and that government, the governors would sign see of, I'll not go to Owabe party and forget about people who are requesting for the easing of the process of doing business. If you want to register a company in Nigeria, how many days does it take for you to register a company? If you want to take a loan, how long does it take for you to take a loan? And all those things that are necessary for us to do. But it was quite an encouraging one for me yesterday, and I believe that the government should encourage more private individual investments in these areas and provide all the incentives, all the necessary things, including tax holidays, help them with facilities to enable them strengthen their operations such that within a short time they can begin to add to our GDP.
Unfortunately, that mill may also have to import maize, the major raw materials. As we speak, there are 7 ships in Lagos port from outside the country loaded with maize for mills in Nigeria. You can imagine where importation of maize for mills, those that produce animal feeds and other processed food for human consumption. You can imagine a situation where with a fertile land, they always tell us
everywhere
3 states, Benue, Kogi, and Nasarawa, or Benue Plateau and Nasarawa, can feed the whole of West Africa if we put it to effective cultivation. Go to South Africa, where these eggs are coming from. You have individual farms doing commercial farming. We are doing subsistence here. You can only feed you, your family, and even your extended family. If you want to commercialize it, if you want to increase production using modern techniques, you must do commercial farming. How can you do commercial farming in Nigeria when the Land Use Act is there, rigid as it were, in the Constitution? You can't have access to land.
Cannot have access.
The state is the owner of all the lands in Nigeria. For you to get it,
including where you have built your house,
it's pretty difficult. All efforts to devolve power, move Land Use Act away from the Constitution, and make it an act the National Assembly can easily amend, such that if you have interest, Ohiria, if you're a commercial farmer, you can go to any part of the country you want that is
with ease
for your farming, and establish large-scale farming that will indeed help to feed our production. I say our food production is increasing, but it's increasing lower than our population increase. The little advantage we make in expanding production is chopped off by the larger number of Nigerians that we produce, over 2.7% every day and every year. It's something we need to really tackle to solve the food insecurity issue.
Our feeding bottle philosophy of the kind of federal structure that we practice, apology to Senator Ike Kuremadu, who propounded that theory of feeding bottle federalism, cannot help us, Ohiria. And of course, the easy money made largely possible by the exploits into the oil sector has not also helped us. And as long as we continue to wait for this easy money, that you come to Abuja, you share, and everybody is saying, this state is rich. A number of arguments we make is usually based on how much money somebody has brought in from Abuja to the state. Is it bailout fund?
How much go to local
government? Is it party club refund? Is it the monthly allocation? What did you do with your monthly allocation? Nobody. Is a sharing culture, not the development or revenue generation culture. It's not. Now, apart from human being, the next most important factor of production is land. And to the best of my knowledge, we have more than enough land in this country compared to even our population. I'll give you one example of knowing that so many things can be done right. Because of the federal government, the CBN Anchor Borrowers Program, which made it possible for some young ones and some cooperative groups to have access to funds, you discover that a number of individuals have been able to develop themselves in the agricultural sector.
Yes.
In Delta, what we did is to also make sure that a number of persons go back to the farms. You see some number of young men who are now producing fish, that to the extent that today, the amount of fish that we have been able to produce.
In fact, I hear they are looking for markets.
Yes, they have become entrepreneurs. What we are now looking for is off-takers, people who will now buy from them because they are producing a reasonable amount of fish from their ponds, which was made possible by government and then giving them starter packs. If we are able to get a number of these persons who are strolling, by the time you go to the farm in the morning, attending to your either crop, poultry, or a fish,
you'll be busy.
You will be too tired to go to the street to begin to cry and no go agree, because you'll be too tired to have that energy. And when somebody wants to mobilize you to also engage in political toggery, because you know that he's only going to give you 10,000, and you are looking forward to making possibly 50,000 from your farm, you cannot sacrifice your 50,000 naira because you want to now collect 10,000 naira. There are so many benefits we can gain if we deploy. You recall what we said about even NYSC before. We said, where are the NYSC farms? Every year we bring these individuals. We say they are doing community development, but it's community discussion. When they say it's CD, it's community discussion. They just go there, gossip, and after gossiping, they go back to their office
with their
iPhones. But if government is able to say, okay, look, NYSC in every local government, this is the social number of hectares of land. Provide the mechanized system of farming, not so that they are not going to be carrying hoes and cutlasses, having acquired that education. Provide them tractors. There are a number of them who will be so happy to operate that articulated vehicle.
And after 1 year,
there are a number of them
who
will begin to see the money that the farm is making, either in the form of poultry. And from there, you also pay them allowances. They would have been able, just like the prison I told you that I saw in Texas, the NYSC would have been able to generate enough funds to even pay people who are participating in the scheme. And then that would also save the federal government some level amount of money that can be channeled into other sources. Not until we begin to think in this direction. We will all continue to grumble and our economy will continue to suffer.
I think there is a problem, and we have said it on this program. We continue to say it. There seem to be a lot of incompetencies. Apart from the sentiments, the emotions we have talked about, apart from the corruption and the free money we are talking about, there's a very, very high level of incompetence amongst us. I wouldn't know how if it is our inability to harness the experts, or it is the political consideration that make it impossible for those who have knowledge to come to the scene. So everybody is, waiting, or those who cannot wait are jumping out. They are becoming professionals and good, contributors to the development of other countries and leaving this nation behind. Now, what we need in the agricultural sector, I think Hedu talked about it. It's not enough to go to the farm and produce. We have seen some of these government programs that took off, and the problems followed them because they are unable. You cannot ask somebody to go to the farm and produce without the middleman who is going to buy those products off from them and take it to the market. It's big business to farm. The farmer who is producing, who is cultivating on the ground should not be saddled with the problem of looking for the market, looking for how to preserve it. There are people who ordinarily should buy, add value to it, and they take it.
We used to have boards like cocoa marketing boards.
It's a chain. So, but when you see a farmer, what I have seen is that it's the farmer that plants, is the one that harvests, is the one that adds value to it. If it's the one that be looking for market all over the place, man hour is lost in the course of time. I think it's time for the federal government to begin to take a look at the chains if we want to improve agriculture the way we really desire it.
You spoke of the capabilities of Nigeria in terms of human resource. We have one of the best in the world. I dare say it. Even in the United States, in UK, everywhere. See Nigerian trained professionals rendering service. Why can't we give ourselves service? It's only in sports. You ask yourself, why can't we get our best? It's only in sports that we put up our first 11, our best 11. Elsewhere, political consideration because of the structure of the political structure.
And we get the
country.
Best from sports most of the time.
Yeah, we get this because it's purely based on merit. But can you infuse merit into political appointments in Nigeria? One region will tell you this, the other will tell you that. That's where the problem lies. And that aligns with the issue of looking at the structure of the country in such a way that if you're asked to come to Abuja, like the former premier of Northern Nigeria, the Sarwana, said, he chose to become premier of Northern Nigeria rather than prime minister because for him, the main issue was with the region. That was why some people are asking us, go back to that constitution where you rather stay in your region to add value than come to Abuja where nothing exists. Nothing exists. And just as we get set to go, this issue of the tensions in the southeast, I've noted that military solution don't solve.
It does not solve the problem. It does
Afghanistan, where the US moved in with their military. Somalia, we know what is of Somalia today. If Biafra that was defeated 50 years ago, resurrected, that was defeated militarily 50 years ago,
there was a problem.
Resurrected 50 years after by those that were not born then, it tells you there's a problem, and that problem may not be solved.
Well, we have to wrap up now. We will not wrap up until we have made it very clear that our position is that the affairs of the military should be conducted in the most civilized way according to the rules. We should not act provocatively to attract the military, and the military should also act provocatively to attract the reaction from the people, like what we're also seeing.
Remind our government that the death of Ken Saro-Wiwa worsened the crisis in the Niger Delta. It gave rise to the militancy that indeed militarized that environment up to today, and the Nigerian government and the Nigerian people are still suffering on account of that.
We have to go now.
Let us not progress in that direction.
We have to go now. When we come back tomorrow, we'll have more assessment, and we expect your mails through political platform at yahoo.com. Here.
Bust it.